It's me, Combo Abel. I'm back again. I'm here. I want to show you what type of video I'm going to do today. Today we're going to talk about the unusual name for Africa, Bangladesh, First People, Black Madonnas all over the world, Chinese original Black Africans roots, how ancient Egyptians view Europe, Indians. Japanese, were they Africans? Is African nationalism in Europe European? King James, the Black King, who had that's that. Maybe I'm going to do that, or maybe not. And then we have the real black turkeys. The largest continent may not be Asia. You know what I mean? We're going to talk about us and war on indigenous Arabs. And then we have here, was India once an African country? So we're going to start first. We're going to start with one video here. We're going to call, my name is Abel Combo. We are in, it's now 3 o'clock in the night actually. And the first time I'm doing a video in the night, so it's good to make one in the night also. So I'm spreading the truth here. I'm spreading the things which you'll never see in television. The message which I'm gonna put in this video today is about blacks who are forgotten in India, in China. In China, there was black people living there before the new Chinese people you see today, and even in Bangladesh, even in there's one for Japan. I will do that for another video. But first, we're gonna start. The largest continent will not be Asia. First we're going to represent you that actually I'm going to show you this video. This is committee ethnics. The name of the person who is speak here will be committee ethnic, and I'm gonna show you what I found out here. Okay. So let's start with the largest continent may not be Asia.
Injanlonke, Akadime say, reality is reviewed in the present moment. Find out more and email us or join at marfado.com. Ubuntu is Mahat. Power of knowing. Applied wisdom. May you rise to the stars this life. Committee Good Ethics welcomes you all. Thank you. Attenda, Siabonga, subscribe and share. Here is a question billions will get wrong. Which is the largest continent on earth? Let us ask former president of South Africa, and let us listen to his answer on YouTube.
This continent is the biggest continent in the world, not separated even by a river. The rivers that are there flow with the continent. They don't cut it into half or quarter. All continents put together will fit into Africa.
Before we verify whether Msholozi was lying, let us ask Google, which is the largest continent. When you go to Google and ask this question, what is the largest continent? We understand that there are a few different ways to answer what is the largest continent. The first is by area and another is by population. So what we are concerned with is by area. By area, they tell us that Asia is the largest continent with 44.4 million square kilometers. It is also the largest by population with over 4 billion people living in Asia. So it's quite clear when you take a look that Asia comes up tops. Take a serious look at this map. What is wrong with it? Now, there are 7 continents on Earth. We are told Africa, Antarctica, Asia, Australia, Oceania, Europe, North America, and South America, giving us a total of about 7. There is the map that shows everything. And the largest continent is taught all over in the world, from kindergarten to PhD, is Asia. Africa is number 2. But we find other issues here when we consider Asia. The question is Russia in Asia or in Europe? Let's think about that and consult and do some few more investigations, because it's clear that there is something not right here. The big question here is about Europe as well as Asia and Russia. Why can't we only have everything together there? Because looking at this map that is come up here now, we see that Eurasia, which combines Europe and Asia, should actually be one continent. And in that sense, it will make Eurasia the largest continent without any further debate. Let us remind each other, our task here is to discover which is the largest continent for purposes of learning and education, and also purpose of geography. Now, we are thoroughly confused when it comes to Russia. Again, Asia may incorporate other countries. And let's continue. Turkey, on the other hand, while its biggest city is in Europe, has its capital in Asia, Ankara. Perhaps let us define what is a continent. In this case, a continent, the word comes from the Latin and is defined as a continuous body of land contained within water. And so, does Europe qualify as a continent? Because you can see that this is all its borders, but when it comes to Turkey here, we got a lot of problems. And also, we have seen already Russia giving headaches there. What is considered to be the boundary between Europe and Asia? They tell us that is the Ural Mountains. The Ural Mountains, indicated here in Western Asia, Russia, form the boundary between Europe and Asia. This is a great lie. Let us remind each other that here a continent is thus defined from the Latin as a continuous body of land or contained within water. Boom! Because the Ural Mountains, they can't stand. Therefore, it is clear that Europe is not surrounded by a body of water. It is connected to Asia. We have seen Eurasia there. There is no body of water around it separating it other than a trick, which is a lie in the form of a human crafted imaginary line based on the Ural Mountains. So we can't accept that. We have to apply everything together. You see, I can walk from Africa right without crossing any border, as Msholos has explained, into Europe. Anywhere into Europe, also into Asia. Europe is not a continent. It does not qualify for this appellation. So, who made it a continent? It's not nature, but humans. And according to this map we are showing here, these are artificial lines that were drawn. Of course, they then come with the Ural Mountains and all the reasons. That's wrong geography. That's not definition of a continent. More common sense now. Europe is not a continent, for Europe is in Asia. That's a fact now. What about Asia and Africa? What separates them? Let's find out. Now, to make Africa number 2, you remember they split it and created a place they call Middle East, which they then added to Asia. So this is the boundary they want to tell us, that therefore Africa is like number 2. But then when you look at Africa from this perspective, I can walk anywhere from Africa, crossing no water, right into Asia, right up there into Europe, maybe the little islands here, anywhere in Europe, all that. So all of this land mass right into Asia, Africa and Asia is one continent, including Europe. This is very, very interesting. Remember, there was no Middle East. They had to create this Middle East so that all their debates can come, all their things can come. And also Europe is part of Asia, and Asia is part of Africa. So we have destroyed all the three continents, including we have made one continent out of all this, except that Australia is now Oceania, but it's in Asia, part of Asia. So Australia is part of Africa, and we have given in many of our videos its original African name, Sahel. Now, another lie. Who came up with the idea of the Suez Canal? Then they tell you that it's the Suez Canal is the border. It is a human-crafted border. So the Suez Canal history given here on this slide tells us that Africans are on record as the first people to dig a canal across their length. Here, there is clear canal of Sesostris, who was an African king, our ancient ancestor, linking the two seas through the Nile branches. In 1887, before Common Era, the canal of the Pharaohs, Sesostris and Useres III. In 1310 BCE, canal of Pharaohs, Seti I, Necho, and then King Darius, and also now there 285 comes the Europeans, Ptolemy, Trajan, and also the white Arabs. So the first canal was dug during the reign of the whole of Africa, that included Eurasia as well as many other islands. To open our eyes, we have to know the true size of Africa. Given here, these are the websites that we are given. There is a Kai Cruz, who made an interface designer, created a map called the true size of Africa, which shows how many countries the continent can contain, and it is mind-boggling. Africa is large. It's the biggest continent ever. All over the largest continent is Africa. Here's the actual comparison with China. See that? It's too little. We can't compare and contest with these small islands. Think about this seriously. There is a man called MacArthur who drew Africa as smaller to Greenland. And obviously Antarctica isn't bigger than Eurasia, and Africa is many times larger than any country or continent you can pick on Earth, because Africa includes Asia, and Asia incorporates Europe. So Eurasia, the whole of that, the three, Europe, Asia, and Africa, they are all Africa. They are all in the continent of Africa. And then we include and incorporate many other small islands. The question again, what is the largest continent? It's Africa. Why then does the world lie openly? It's because of colonization, mineral wealth.
So as you see the question here, what is the largest continent? Why then does the world lie? So the world is lying to me. We are living in a big lie, a big fat lie in this world. You understand what I mean? So openly colonization, mineral wealth, because of Africa, we have the wealth of minerals. Without Africa, there's no engine of a car, there's no engine of an aeroplane, there's no computers and handies. You understand, the handies which we are using here, many things inside that handy, it comes from Africa, like gold is in the handy. The gold is doing the wiring in the handies, in the mobiles, and you can find gold also in laptops, in computers. You understand? So you can find many things which come from Africa in every technique thing you see in the world. You understand what I mean? So this is the big, we are living in a big lie, and it's all about the colonization, mineral wealth, control, and easy to rule Africans. You understand? So actually Africa, Europe, and Asia is one continent. Even Australia, including Australia. So I want to show you why we are living in a big lie. And the ones who lie, they are racist people actually. They want to rule Africa with mineral souls, so that they can go and steal in Africa gold and silver and all these minerals. So we know all these things. They are doing this secretly. So I start with this, the continent, and then I'm going to show you the other things.
Control, and also to rule us easily. For a detailed study, check out at this site that is given here, the true size of Africa. This is a wrong map of Africa. Never ever use this. Anyone you see using such a map, just remember they are ignorant. They don't know nothing. They are absolutely dumb. So there is one continent. The largest continent on the earth is Africa. Largest country owned by the original humans. But what must we do? We must just reclaim this and teach this truth.
Okay,
Join
that's
us
all this.
on join at
And I think I'm not
marifado.com, our email.
accepting.
Visit our website, and let us remember that Africa includes Europe and Asia and all the associated islands as one continent. It is for the black people. It is ours. It is all the other.
Okay. About that. Okay, so now I want to show you another video. Now I'm going to show you the real name of Africa, where the name Africa comes from.
Welcome. One of Africa's most interesting names was taken away purposefully in 1884 at the Berlin Conference. Do you know that name? Is it important? Why should we know this name amongst many other names like Ethiopia, Sudan, Kush, or Mwenemtapa? My religion is Kamitics. Ubuntu Maati consciousness is my spirituality.
Okay, me, I'm not that religion, of Kamiti, I don't know what. Me, I believe in God.
Of Marifado, our inheritance. Let's look at this topic. An unusual name for Africa. An awareness of an incredible meaning. Changing names of items or things changes their identity if anyone doesn't know the history. The name of Africa has been changed many times. Changing the name of the continent in 1884, 85 has made it easier to divide it, to loot its wealth. How? Because Africans would not easily think of uniting to fight back, but would embrace their Euro-created nations and continue to kill and maim each other to keep their small little enclaves, paradox, which they boast of as their country. False nationalism. Eventually, they will call other Africans foreigners and burn them alive and chase them out of their so-called countries. Renaming had many other benefits for those that renamed it. History could be rewritten for the colonized, belittling them as humans who had no achievements in their history. Also, their identities could be squished around. Some can be given identities of nations that they don't belong to. Africans would easily lose their totems, their tribes, their religion and spirituality.
Those totems, I don't believe of totems.
To home in Africa and abroad in other lands, so-called continents. This opened up Africa, and vast amounts of wealth continues today to be stolen and allows Arabia, Europe, and the United States to continue to have massive wealth, top-notch social services, disease-free waterways, amenities, and many other great infrastructures built by the resources that came out of the Berlin Conference and slave trade. But what is that unifying name that was taken away at the Berlin Conference? Is it Al-Keblan? No. This term Al-Keblan, though it is popular, was introduced to Africans by Europeans of Arabia and Turkey, so-called white Arabs today. The Ahmadis, during their enslavement and plunder times in the mid-1800s, introduced this term. Nevertheless, it didn't last long because the Western nations who follow Christianity and Western Judaic philosophy stopped all that and continued to want to use the term.
Okay, this guy is talking here. I think I think maybe Christianity started from Europe. I don't know. No, Christianity started. It came in Africa. It's for a long time in Africa. Christianity was not introduced in Africa with with the European. No, the Bible don't say that. Christianity was there in the Africa for a long time ago. You know, when you go to the Bible, you're going to find the name Ethiopia. You're going to find the name Cush. You're going to find the name Ham. And all these people, you find them in the Bible, they are Africans, you know. So there's some people, they are miseducated, you know. So, okay, let's go.
Africa. Therefore, it is not the unusual name for Africa that we are searching for. Is it Africa? Africa. We read originated from the Egyptian word Africa. Very, 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 very good meaning, powerful meaning, which is translated to motherland. That was the Dr. Van Ivan Setima. Africa comes from the Arabic word fik or frik, which means separate, divide, or conquer. Sacred Woman by Queen Afua. It is also reported the spelling of this word Africa like that originated from Romans who conquered Carthage and identified the continent as Africa Terra, feminine form of Africos, meaning the land of the North African tribe Afri. Other theories for the origin of the spelling of Africa stems from the adjective for Africa in Latin, afe, which means black or dark, and Africa meaning sun, or Ophi, meaning the land of God, which is identified in the Bible as found in Southern Africa. Africa, the current misnomer adopted by almost everyone today, was given to this continent by the ancient Greeks and the Romans. This was Dr. Joseph Ben Yochanan says. So which name can we say is good for us, and can we say is an unusual connection to us? Because that's the problem. You see this map here, it shows us a lot of other places. You know, Western Africa, from Mali there, Niger, Nigeria, right across to the Sudan or Ethiopia, was known as the Western Sudan. And this part was known as the Eastern Sudan. And this central part, up to Southern Africa, was known as Ethiopia or Kush. Right there. Then we got Lower Sudan. This is West Africa, so-called Namibia today, Angola, Gabon. All these countries were known as Western Sudan. And the other lower part in West Africa, where most of the slaves were taken, was known as Upper Guinea. And the Ethiopian Ocean here, and the Ethiopian Ocean here. Not yet changed to Atlantic Ocean. So this is what we are dealing with. This is what we should know. And then we have Nubia or Nubge, the Marua, and other places there. So we're still searching for that name. There's a power in names. Naming is extremely important. It is the preeminent act of political domination. When others name you, they own you. All your names carry your signature, your spiritual signature, your identity, your history, where you have come from, where you are going, who is you, is actually defined by your correct name. No matter that name was given to you by others. Those who name you eventually will control your thoughts, and will do so through educating you. Those who educate you control your thoughts control your brain, and produce ideas, if allowed, in your brain. So once we say Africa and we give you a map like this, your brain will refuse and want to turn it the other way round. So it's programming, it's a training. We must deal with hard facts to perceive beyond emotional and questioning gullibility. There is no need for us to continue to ignore our original names, many names that we have had. There is another powerful name. Have you heard of the continent known as Nigritia? This is Nigritia. The Western powers changed the name of the continent from Nigritia to Africa at the Berlin Conference of 1884-85. Why? Because Nigritia identifies these people all over the earth. Identifies all these with a lot of very rich history, envied and copied and stolen by many, many others. Let's define Nigritian from Webster's Dictionary of the 20th century, 1943. We get this from the Sacred Word site, this website.
So as you see here, you can we can get this name defining Nigritic, sacred N word. You can find it in Webster 28th Century Dictionary, 1943. I think we can find this in the Google or something like that. I don't know, or Wikipedia. The defining Nigritic. So I think Nigritic was our African name. I don't know, because this name Africa is not our continent name. We were given that name. You understand? With Romans. This is the history is telling us.
Grecian of or pertaining to Nigritia, a district of the Middle Africa inhabited by true Negroes. Nigritian, noun, a native or inhabitant of Nigritia, a true Negro. Nigritic, pertaining to or characteristic of Negroes or of the Negritos, Papuans, and Melanesians. A powerful meaning. We shall come back to it in our conclusion. So when you go to the map of Africa, 1776 and 16th century there, you find the places like that. I said this is Western Sudan, which is correct. Also Ethiopia, the whole of it. Interior Ethiopia or Western Ethiopia, also correct. And this is the Ethiopian Ocean, so-called Atlantic today. And now there is Guinea, which we were talking about. You see, Mediterranean there. We name it that. And we've got Dahomey, and there's no Nigeria. You can see that. No Ghana there on this map. It's there, Ghana, somewhere here. And also, you can see here Terra Nigritarum and the Nigroram and the Ethiopia up to Zimbabwe, South Africa, Mozambique, Malawi, Namibia, Botswana. That's Ethiopia, southern there. Or Kami, that's the other name that was used for southern Africa. An 1800 BCE to 500 BCE map by Herodotus shows Nigritia as the name of the whole continent. As force conquered it, the area named Nigritia shrank, right? Became smaller and smaller until it has completely disappeared altogether from today's maps and reference books. You can see here a 1776 AD anvil map includes a note about Edrisi, the Nubian geographer, who indicates Negroland or Nigritia. There. Of course, now they are now including Atlantic Ocean, which we know is the Ethiopian Ocean or Cushitic Ocean, and that's all that we have to know about this. So this name Nigritia is part of our own identity. This is Dave Ramsey, a copy of the 1736 AD map by Mall of Negroland and Guinea. So this Negroland that we talk of true Negroes, is what is called Nigritia on some other maps. Again, you can see there is a part of Ethiopia there. All of it, Southern Africa, as they identified it. Again, we want to look a little bit at the two names that have remained, that still retain the term Nigritia. These are the two countries, Nigeria and Niger. Now, show clearly recognize the existence of various nationalities in the geographic space under the forced control of British colonists when she stated, within these limits of Nigeria, contains many widely differing characteristics of climate, country and inhabitants. Because the borders were drawn willingly. This is not a country. There should never be countries like that. There should be never a country called Niger. There should never be a country called Nigeria, Mali, Algeria. All this was called Western Sudan, or Western Kush, Western Ethiopia, or Western Nigritia. And this was called Central Nigritia, and the Eastern Nigritia up to there, and the Northern Nigritia and Southern Nigritia. That's correct, because then it identifies the inhabitants as well as the continent or the country or the land. You see, its history is ancient and is not wanting in dramatic elements of interest and romance. Go to this website, the Biafran WordPress. Nigeria, as we call our latest dependence, is not properly a name. it cannot be found upon a map that is 10 years old. That's when Shaw wrote that. See that? Flora Shaw. Nigeria and Niger are still retain the Nigritian vestige. That's our proof. Our number one proof that the whole continent was called by the color of the people that lived there. Of course, there are many names for regions and places and all stuff like that. But the term Nigritian is complete and total name. You see, it also applies to many other people that are not only in Africa. These names, once they are, unlike Nigritia, once they are removed from books and the memory, they become lost because they have been murdered and killed and buried, forgotten. After one generation, no one remembers them. The liars can then continue to tell us anything which they are still doing up to today. Their eraser from our history causes us to lose our bearings and we become cows in a paddock. Small security and our nationalism and sovereignty is promoted by our leaders who are more of puppets of this kind of history based on the Berlin Conference. All the African Union or Organization of African Unity is not for us. It's for Europe to continue to control these paradox. And then when we are in these paradox, so-called countries, they can then come and vaccinate worms into us. Like how we vaccinate our own cows and cattle in the paradox. So why is the name Nigritian, though it is of Latin or Spanish origins, be termed here in this video as an unusual name for Africa or a unique name for Africa? Because this name, Nigritia, has incredible uniting power, and it has no continental locus like Africa, but it is race focus. We define it again and read the definition.
But I don't. There's some things I don't believe in about all this race and all that. I don't like. I believe in the Bible. I don't believe in the rest.
Nigritia, a district of Middle Africa inhabited by true Negroes. Nigritian, noun. A native or inhabitant of Nigritia, a true Negro, Negritic adjective, pertaining to or characteristic of Negroes, true Negroes, or Negritos found in all islands on earth. Papuans found in eastern oceanic regions. The Tongans, the Samoans, the Fijians, the Melanesians, those found in India, everybody there is known as Papuan. And the Melanesians, the Aboriginals found in Australia, found in New Zealand, the Maoris, everyone. So you see how powerful this name is. Very powerful name. We were known as Nigritians in the United States. And
so as you see that this guy is saying that the first name of Africa was called Nigritia. So Nigritians. So you want to say that our original name of our continent Africa is Nigritians. We are Nigritians. So I don't know. This is what he think.
Globally throughout the early 1900s until they, on their own, gave us another new name or promoted another name with the meaning to their conquest of our land. That's the name Africa, named by the Romans when they conquered Carthage, which is Carthage. So get this book, Social History of the Races of Mankind, First Division, Nigritian, 1885 by America's Featherman. You can get it from Amazon. A little bit expensive, but very worthwhile to have. Applied knowledge is power. Once you know, you will be able to intelligently discuss the so-called major names that identify our old real history and the journey to today. That way, we can reverse the scam that has taken place. It is a scam that has cost the freedom and livelihood of billions of melanin-dominant humans. Not to mention the abhorrent, self-inflicted hate and the paradox which we call our countries and nationally.
Okay, so you know me, I really don't like about hate and all that, I really don't like that, because it's very, very evil, and I'm Christian. I believe in God, so I really don't like all this about hate and race and all that. I just want to show you the videos which I found. The videos which I found, and yes, and this guy's name is Committee Ethnics. So I think he's a teacher in Africa, or a professor teacher, or I don't know, something like that. A historiker, an historical man who have learned. He's very, very not bad. He's very, very smart, but actually there's some things which I don't accept. There's some other things I don't accept. You know, that with I don't know, Melanie and all those things. You know, I don't accept those things. But let's continue.
Which enables part of us and some of us to commit great genocide of our own race. You too.
Okay, so I have another one here. Oh, where is that? So now I want to show you now about that is about the unusual name of our continent, Africa. The real name of Africa is Nigritia, the way he said. So I'm going to show you another video what this doctor is so we have the Chinese original black Africans. So the original Chinese people, they were black African. This is what this professor is saying. So let's listen to him.
I know thy works, and tribulation, and poverty, but thou art rich. Welcome to the Black Excellence and Abundance Channel.
Okay, this is a Black Excellence, okay. Okay, everything okay, but I don't want any... let's listen.
In 1998, the proceedings of the National Academy of Science concluded a study by the Chinese Human Genome Diversity Project and made public their findings, which stated that most of the population of modern China, 1/5 of all the people living today, owes its genetic origins to Africa. The study was the result of a consortium of several leading research groups in the People's Republic of China in combination with the Human Genetics Center at the University of Texas Health Center in Houston, Texas. In addition to genetic evidence linking China to Africa, archaeological evidence has recorded close to 100 pyramids that are located in a 100-kilometer area around the city of Xi in central China. I can't help but wonder, why are these pyramids shrouded in mystery? What are they hiding? This site is also well known as the location of the famous life-size terracotta warriors. Further study of this history and art of the Shang and the Zhou dynasties in China will reveal even more African influence. This information and evidence points to a clear interaction and anthropological connection to China's African roots. China's first dynasty and emperor were Africoid, or of black origins. Founded by King Te, the earliest documented rulership in China was the Shang or the Xiang dynasty. The Shang were credited with unifying China's earliest elements to form their first civilization. The Shang were given the name the Naki, Na meaning black and Qi meaning man. The first Chinese emperor, the legendary Fuxi, was a woolly-haired black man. Among his credits are establishing government and originating social institutions, as well as cultural inventions. He is said to be the originator of the I Ching, the Book of Change. It is among the oldest and most revered system of philosophy. Emperor Hung Wu was founder of the Great Ming Dynasty of China. He was African, Sudanese, and Mongolian descent and was also a Muslim. The skills that set the foundation for Shaolin Kung Fu
I hope
descend
these
from
guys are
India
not Muslim. You know,
and
sometimes they
Africoid
always have
origins.
those hate. And
Even in the White Garment Hall of the Shaolin Monastery in Hunan, province of China, there are 12-foot-long paintings of Chinese and Africoid Shaolin monks training boxing skills together. Although not promoted and somewhat hidden, it shows striking evidence of the deep interrelation of Africa, the martial arts, and Asia. There have been efforts made to cover up the facts. Even the original Chinese, called Li Min, and the Ainu of Japan were Africans. Also, there are books written to prove this fact,
such as The African Presence in Early Asia, authors Dr. Ivan van Sertima and Runoko Rashidi, and African Star Over Asia, The Black Presence in the Early East by Runoko Rashidi, and there are many others.
China's first dynasty and emperor, founded by King Ta, who was black. The earliest documented rulership of China was the Shang dynasty from 1500 to 1008 BC, which is credited with bringing together the elements of China's earliest civilization. The Shang was given the name Naki under the Black Dynasty. The Black Chinese established the basic form of graceful calligraphy that has lasted to the present day. The first Chinese emperor, the legendary Fuhis, was without a doubt black, and his African brothers and sisters established government, social institutions, and cultural inventions. They are credited with the creation of the I Ching, or the Book of Change, which is the oldest, most revered system of prophecy. It is known to have influenced the most distinguished philosophers of Chinese thought. These African offspring were responsible for the building of China's earth mounds pyramids, which are today mistaken for hills due to their eroded appearance and size. The pyramids in Japan are not made of stone indigenous to Japan. It is said that small black people built them during the Mu civilization. We know that the pyramids built around the world were all built by black people, as no other people have a history of building pyramids, judging by the contents of all the pyramids.
There are people who will dispute this fact. However, I challenge anyone to take a good, honest look at the contents of the pyramids throughout the world and find out who the builders of the pyramids are based on the contents of the pyramids. And you will find that they are inevitably black people. And there are also people who try to reduce our content as being racist. This is not true. As a matter of fact, it's far from the truth. What we are truth tellers. We challenge anybody to research any of the videos and any of the information that we find, and you will see that we are not racist at all. We are simply telling the truth about our people. Telling our truth, our story. We'd also like to point out that in a genetic study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Genetics, scientists found evidence that the first Africans arrived in China around 60,000 years ago. Population researcher and geneticist Li Jin said, "Our work shows that modern people came to Southeast Asia and then moved to northern China. This supports the idea that modern people came from Africa. In later ages, they were responsible in 210 for constructing an elaborate tomb for Shen Shi Hujuan. His body."
So the way he said that he's not racist, that is wonderful, you know. And he's black, and it's good that he's not racist, because I don't like also black people to be a racist black people. You know, this is so bad, you know, it's evil. And it's not from us, actually, this hate and all that. It comes from the devil himself, you know. Confusing stupid, dumb people to start acting like that, you know. So it's good he says not like that. Okay, so we continue.
Is guarded by an army of soldiers, warriors made out of the terracotta. They are also credited with building the Great Wall of China. That's right, folks. Black people had a very big hand in the building of the Great Wall of China. This is very interesting because this is a little known fact. I repeat, there is strong evidence that the Great Wall of China was built by black people. There is also evidence of a substantial population of blacks in early China. Archaeological studies have located an infrastructure which was inhabited by blacks in early Chinese history, and reports of major kingdoms ruled by blacks are frequent in Chinese documents. In the earliest Chinese history, several texts in classical books spoke of these diminutive blacks. The Toruli, composed under the dynasty of Tivu, 1122 to 249 BC.
So when you look here, this is, I think, a old picture in China, and we have some interesting thing here. So when you see here, she look like an African, Chinese African, you know. When you look, this is our old pictures, you know. When you look this one here, you look this, he look like an African. He's a dark Chinese person, you know. So, okay, you know, I mean, there's evidence, there's a pictures here which it shows the evidence a little bit that the Chinese, there were also, there's some African Chinese living, you know, there in China, you know, for a long time. So, this is a picture was made
of the
by Chinese people, the ones who make this picture. It's not an African who make this picture, you know.
Inhabitants with black features. Chinese folklore speak often of these blacks and mention.
As you see here, these are also Chinese, but they have afro hair, you know. They look like, you know, they have like African hair, you know, like this. I don't know. This is not, this is a picture was made.
An emperor of Chinese named Li, 373 to 397. He was companion of the emperor Wen, who was spoken of as being black African, and the kingdom of blacks in the southwest of China. Chinese folklore speak often of these blacks and mention an emperor of Chinese named Li.
When you look, even I think this is Buddha or something, but Buddha look like an African future like this. I don't know, but
companion of the emperor Wen, who was spoken of being black African, and the kingdom of blacks in the southwest of China. The sacred Manchu dynasty shows a great multitude of black.
So when you look here, we have some, these are Chinese, but how look the way they look. This is a picture for a very old picture in China. So I don't know, maybe 1990s or 80s, I don't know. They make this picture, I don't know.
People. Emperor Po Yi of the Manchu Kawa, direct descendants of the Manchu ruler of China, is most distinctly black. Chinese Chronicle reports that a black empire existed in the south of China at the beginning of the country's history. So you see, folks, black people were there at the very beginning. In Sheikh Anta Diop's writing, African Origin of Civilization, the ancient black royal house of China, 1766, 1100 BC, called the Shang, contributed mightily to China's earliest known civilization. Now, this history is a little known fact in black history. The fact that black people were at the very beginning of the Chinese Empire lets us know that we have a history that is unexplored and that is.
Okay, so we have seen some videos here. So you guys, if you believe that what he said or not, just subscribe when I say. Just give some comments, and we can comment this person who make this video, and we can write him back or something like that. If I put this video in YouTube, so you guys, you just tell me your ideas about this guy, what he's talking about. Okay. No, wait. And then we have the original Arabs people. Who are they? Who are the original Arab people?
And if all others accepted the lie which the party imposed, if all records told the same tale, then the lie passed into history and became truth. Who controls the past? Ran the party slogan. Controls the future. Who controls the present? Controls the past. By George Orwell, 1984. This preacher Rabbi L.M. Tumizu sharing a valuable history lesson to correct the fallacies and also to demonstrate wars on indigenous Arabs. We start by saying there is no Middle East. It's all Africa. Whenever we deal with the Middle East, so-called Middle East or Arab issue or anything that has to do with Islam, we must be able to have this rallying call that there is no Middle East. It's all Africa. The modern Middle East was largely created by the British. It was they who carried the Allied war effort in the region during World War I, and who at its close principally fashioned its peace. It was a peace presaged by the nickname given to the region by covetous British leaders in wartime, and they termed it the Great Alud. Scott Anderson, you go to picturescotts.com and you find this statement stated here. Let's proceed with sharing this information. Why should we bother about this? The reason why we should bother about this is that the so-called Middle East is our land, and also that it is a lie that there is a Middle East, and that there are mineral resources who, for the sake of our future generation, we must inform them and tell them the truth, that we lost the wars, and the people that are currently in those lands are not indigenous. To also demonstrate that the false claims that modern Arabs are indigenous in Middle East and that they came from Caucasus Mountains and Europe via Turkey. To also demonstrate that Arab nationalism, which emerged in the 1960s and now it is a silent war and an open propaganda war to annihilate the real indigenous natives, and also for cultural appropriation. To refute any claims to Asian civilization by modern Arabs, to also refute their claims that they invented numbers, the alphabet, astronomy, or science, to refute all that by facts and also by clear, straightforward evidence. They know the truth. Once you raise this issue, once you show them these images, the Sphinx and many others, they scurry away and they may try, but they will never be able to be successful. And the other level of argument is that the systems in the world continue to teach erroneous geography, which deceives billions of people. For instance, if you were to look for a map of Africa, this is the one that you always see, which cuts off Northeast Africa. And also, we must remember that for thousands of years before European geography, Arabia was part of Africa. And also that we are all correcting such deceptions and proving that we are not foreigners in any of the lands that we find on the earth, because we are autochthonous. What does it mean? It's a Greek word, yes, but it means native to the place where you are found. The whole earth is Africa. Do you know that the mother of all continents is Africa? They call it Pangaea, Gondwana land. You look at these maps, it is quite clear. And if all others accepted the lie which the party imposed, if all records told the same lie, the same tale, then the lie passes into history as truth. George Orwell, 1984. We are reversing such fallacies today. The first point is to define the inhabitants and the description of the original black Arabs. They are described in this book, Geography of Southern Africa, by Baron von Malzahn. It says here on page 121, the inhabitants of this part of Arabia nearly all belong to the race of Himyar. Their complexion is almost as black as that of the Abyssinian or Ethiopians or Africans. So how do these become indigenous? They are not. They have never been. They will never be indigenous to those lands. And on top of it all, the mass consciousness must be alerted to these facts daily, almost daily and be reminded that without unity on a worldwide scale, we are almost going to be wiped out and removed from the earth. So these are Arab Bantus we find in the 18th and 19th century. These are the people in Yemen, the ancestors of those in Yemen that are being attacked to various machinations to wipe them out. Because this is man, Mansour Hadi is not indigenous to Yemen. He came from Turkey. His ancestors came from Europe. In response to Hadi's request, we are told Saudi Arabia, which is also another European or British created nation. Saudi Arabia formed a coalition that included state members with the exception of Oman, many other countries. These are not indigenous Africans, but these, our brothers in Yemen, are Africans. And the masses are numb to their suffering and their bombing and their starvation and elimination. Our channel, Hamidi Buru Ethics, continues to make efforts and say and prove and give evidence that Europeans are the rulers on the earth today. They defeated our black civilizations and ancestors in many, many wars. Too much blood has been shed, suffering and pain, and too much has been burned in fire. So if we do not understand this, we will forever be blind and self-choke ourselves into extinction. This is how indigenous Arabs looks like, known as the Qara. They vanished from the earth. And this is the war against us, indigenous Arabs in Yemen, in Iran, Iraq, the Kurds, everywhere. We look like this. These are our brothers. So that's how we should think about it. There is the evidence. There is the Army Faisal, the Jazz Arab forces, and there is native Muscat. You look at them, they are proper indigenous Bantus. There is Saudi Arabia, and there's the men in Arabia, 15, 17. It's all Africa. We are under attack in Yemen, in Saudi Arabia. We have been displaced in many, many places in Egypt. They are fighting. They want to remove all of us. There is the girl in Cairo, 1860s. Another one there, photographs and prints of Egypt and Syria, 1860s, 1920s, New York Public Library. Look at them. They are not like what we find today. People who came from Turkey. Where did all these people go? They were neutralized. They were exterminated. They were destroyed. They are no longer there. It is time for us to restore ourselves. There's an Arab woman on donkeys, 1860s. There's a group of Bisharin before they attained at Wad Haifa in ancient Hamid, ancient Egypt. Look at them. These are us. These are all Africans. They are the leaders, all current rulers in so-called Arab world do not look like that or like that. They look like that. They are Europeans who came from the Caucasus Mountain. Some came from Far East Asia via Turkey. They are not indigenous. The modern rulers and ruling elites in the former lands of black civilizations are not who they claim to be. Specifically, those of Egypt are not Egyptians. Those of North Africa are not Berbers. Those of Arabia are not Arabs. Those of Palestine are not Hebrews. Those of Lebanon are not Phoenicians. Those of Iraq are not Mesopotamians. Those of Iran are not Persians or Elamites. Those of Turkey are not Anatolians. They are all Central Asian Turks. Is this why then Saudi has fought a coalition to destroy Yemenites in Africa? Or why Iran is exterminating Arab minorities? Why they are sponsoring terrorist insurgencies in East and West Africa? Yes, that's your answer. Yet our African leaders are quiet. They are foreign rulers. This is how indigenous Arabian looked like. Straightforward. So when you compare him with all the others, you realize that the others are invaders. Facts are clear that in earlier times, Greeks and Romans settled in these lands. And in North Africa, they were followed by Allah's Vandals and the Goths. And also in the 19th century, the French and Italians invaded and settled in North Africa, and with understanding that when the Turks of the Ottoman Empire relinquished the hegemony over those lands after World War I, they and the European powers merely handed over power to local tech elites. Here's your key. They are from Turkey. They are not indigenous. And yet we have shot ourselves in the legs many times by having sellouts amongst us.
Shot ourselves in
So
the
you see, this is the East Africa, right from Southern Africa, slave routes and slave areas up to India. So this is Africa. All of it, India is Africa, Maldives is Africa, Sri Lanka is Africa, Pakistan is Africa, Iran is Africa, Saudi Arabia is Africa, Yemen is Africa, Djibouti is Africa, Oman is Africa. All is Africa. Don't look at those maps that you are taught in geography. These are British colonial officials with Islamic slave traders in Zanzibar. Here, one of the far right is Hamad bin Muhammad bin Juma bin Rajab bin Muhammad bin Said Al Maghrab, more commonly known as Tipu Tip. This is Tipu Tip. See that? One of the most famous African black person slave trader. He died in 1905. We thank the ancestors for wiping off the earth. Bantus being enslaved by Muslims who carried the Quran. Islamic Bantu enslavement never stopped. This is Arab slave traders and their captives along the Ruvuma River in today's Tanzania and Mozambique. This is 19th century engraved you find in Wikipedia. There they are. These are black people. This is how they kill them, just to chop off their head. He's begging for mercy, and he's his own brother. We have shot and killed ourselves many times. But why? Why? Honestly, why? Wars on indigenous Arabs involved many layers. And these layers involved the leadership substitution, whitewashing, Afro-civilization, enslavement, colonization, religious deception, appropriation of cultural artifacts, appropriation of everything that is African. So only black Bantus were on earth about 200,000 years BCE. 36,000 years ago, new races arrived on the earth. And the original peoples today, 2020, are fighting and battling to survive. We must teach such truth and say such information to everybody. This is Preacher Rabbi Ellen Tumizulu. If this is your cup of tea, so shoot us an email at join@marfado.com.
So guys, you give some comments. What do you think about this guy, what he's saying? This committee ethnics. What do you think about him, what he's saying? So comment there in this video when I send it in my channel. So comment there. I want to see your comments. So we have seen the war on indigenous Arabs. Okay. So let me show you another, the original indigenous Japanese.
Japan is arguably the world's most archaeology crazy country. They spend over $1 billion of public funds annually to excavate some 13,000 sites. Archaeology books are bestsellers, and archaeology specials are broadcast on primetime television. Why is this very critical and important to the Japanese consciousness? This desire to establish an identity overwhelms many thinkers, such that cheating is rampant. Around November 2000, an acclaimed Stone Age archaeologist at the Tohoku Paleolithic Institute, Shinichi Fujimura, confessed that he fabricated evidence. This confession came after he was secretly caught on videotape burning supposed artifacts at a site. There are very deep-seated psychological reasons why Fujimura lied. His act is only a microcosm of the general thrust of biased world history and official propaganda. Let us discuss this topic. Indigenous Japanese, were they Africans? When did humans settle in Japan? Who were these people that settled in Japan? Where did these people that settled in Japan come from? These are some of the modern leaders of Japan. They all look Asian, they all look Chinese, they all look like modern Vietnamese or people from Far East. Are these the descendants or the indigenous people that founded Japan? Let us establish some vital parameters in our discussion. Number one, what do we understand about ancient races? This is a formative journey where we are informed by researchers and archaeologists, ethnographers, philologists, and many others that humans migrated out of Africa in two waves. Some scientists say these people adapted to new environment, high altitude, for example, to adapt to low oxygen in the environment where they found themselves in. However, we have discovered that almost 2.8 billion years ago, people were already civilized in southern Africa, Great Lakes region. This comes from the collector balls that prove man has been in Africa for 2.8 billion years ago. Who were these people? Where did they come from? These are the indigenous autochthonous people of the planet Earth. So when did the humans settle in Japan? As they migrated across the whole Earth, it is quite clear that the evidence that we have today is that 40,000 years ago, the first human beings settled in Japan. Who were these people? This is the crux of our story. So we know that they were not Europeans or Asians. Indigenous people in any part of the earth are a much darker race with melanin. Therefore, they could never have been Europeans or Caucasian or any other than being indigenous, Negrito or black or melanin dominant humans. The first Europeans looked dramatically different from the modern Europeans that live there today. New research suggests that Caucasians were a recent addition to this continent or to the human race, arriving on the continent 8,000 years ago. But from where? This is the Yamnaya, modern day Ukraine, Russia. 4,500 years ago, they moved into Europe, and almost 9,000 years ago, they moved into Europe via modern day Turkey, Anatolia. So this is established by genetics. Europeans drawn from 3 Asian tribes. This is a BBC news documentary. Almost 8,500 years ago, the gene variant SLC45A1 became prevalent, lightening original melanin dominant skin. This dramatically contradicts the traditional view that lower sunlight is required or is an adaptation that gave people to be able to live in Europe and then have pale or lighter skin. You can also go to this website shown here, sciencemag.org, where it says how Europeans evolved white skin. New data confirms that hunter-gatherers in Spain, Luxembourg, and Hungary had darker skin. They lacked 2 versions of genes SLC24A5 and SLC45A2 that led to a depigmentation and therefore pale skin in Europeans today. Now, what has this got to do with the Japanese or Asian Japanese? With these facts, let us walk our journey now, because we've established that indigenous races were of darker skin or melanin dominant humans. Therefore, the people that settled in Japan 40,000 years ago would never have been like this or like that. Let's establish this fact with evidence. About 40,000 years ago, black Africans moved into China. They are known as the Jomoni. The Jomoni period is the time of prehistory in Japanese history, dating from 14,000 to 1000 BCE. The Jomoni proceeded forth and entered Japan, as shown in this diagram. These were to become the first humans on this planet Earth to inhabit the Japanese islands. A few centuries later, one more group and some more groups followed. The Ainu followed. And when you look at these masks and this evidence of the Jomoni, they look Bantu because they are Bantu. They were also followed by another significant group called the Ainu, and the history and scholarship has hidden the evidence of.
So as we see here, what he's telling us that the first people in Japanese who came in Japan, the first Africans who went to Japanese were 4,000 years ago, 40,000 years ago, and these names of these guys, they are Jomon. So the Jomon, they're the first Japanese Africans who are living there, okay? So what happened with those Jomon?
Who these Ainu were? The mysterious Ainu people of Japan. The name Ainu is quite obvious and apparent that it is Anu or Antu or Anu or Anu, which is Bantu. These are the people, and this is the site where you can go and view them. These people are believed to have reached Japan from a number of areas, from Taiwan into the islands of Okinawa, from Korea to Kyushu, and from Russia, Hokkaido. Let us not forget that the indigenous people of the whole earth were melanin-dominant humans. It is clear that the Ainu also may have come from by the Melanesian route. The Ainu or Aanu genes can still be found in 40% of modern Japanese as well as Mongolians and Tibetans. The skeletal remains from southern China are predominantly Negroid. The people of that area practice single burials, which is an African ritual. In northern China, blacks founded many civilizations. The three major empires of China were the Xia dynasty, the Shang dynasty, and the Zhou dynasty. These were the first dynasties founded by the Mongoloid people in China called the Hua, the founders of Xia dynasty and Shang dynasty. These came from the fertile African crescent by way of Iran. Blacks in China were raising silkworms and making silk. The culture hero Wang Di has a direct link to Africa. His name was pronounced in Old Chinese Yuai Huandi or Hu Nak Nkute. He arrived in China from the west in 2282 BCE and settled along the banks of Lo River in Shaanxi. Kunte is a common clan name among the Manding speakers. The Africans or blacks that founded civilizations in China were often called Lin Min, black-headed people, by the Zhou dynasty. This term is affinity to the Sumero-Akkadian term Sagiga, black-headed people. This is the picture from the book The Ainu of Japan by Reverend John Batchelor, 1892. This picture, along with the drawings from the 1800s, confirms that even only somewhat pure Ainu were black-skinned Negroes with thick bushy hair. It's very clear and very straightforward. Cultural similarities comes through many other things like clothing, language, and many things. But here we show the Jomon hat and the Zulu hat. There is no significant difference. It's the same techniques and same building style. The question of the actual black Japanese as founders of Japan was also answered in a booklet authored by Dr. Mark Hyman in 1989 entitled as Black Shogun of Japan, on which he stated the following. The fact remains that Sakanoue no Tamramaro was an African. He was Japanese, he was a great fighting general, he was a Japanese shogun. Here is the man. Also, the scholar Alexander Francis Chamberlain, 1865-1914, April 1911, in the journal Race Development, published an essay titled The Contribution of the Negro to Human Civilization. Again, Sakanoue no Tamramaro, a warrior symbolized in Japanese history as the paragon of military virtues, is proved and shown. Again, more evidence. This is more evidence about the ancient link between Japanese and Africans. This is also a YouTube, which you can go and see, and this is your Yoruba, and this is the Japanese. Japanese is king titled Barbarians of the South. The Portuguese attributed to Kano Domi. You can see they are there, the Bantus there. No question marks about that dominating the whole area there. What about modern Japanese? Where did they come from? At about 350 BCE, a Mongol group called the Yayoi broke off from China and invaded and conquered and destroyed the black civilization in Japan. Those Yayoi are the progenitors of modern Japanese. Of course, they have got Jomon and Ainu mixing. Yes, very, very significant and important. Although we do not have ancient lifelike depictions of the Jomoni and Ainu, we do have pictures of members of their former migratory groups as they moved out of the source of human origins and human beginnings in ancient Africa. These are the Andaman Islanders of the Indian Ocean, just off the coast of Burma and Thailand. But today, Andaman genes can still be found in 40% of modern-day Japanese, as well as Mongolians, Tibetans, and genetic testing is continuing and is becoming clear, proving that the ancient Japanese came from many, many areas. Let us not forget that the indigenous or autochthonous people of the earth were melanin-dominant human beings. Here's a painting of Afro-Australian Aborigines, and this is the rest of the Ainu and the source of the people that we are discussing who invaded Japan. This is an Ainu elder. He's a Bantu, he's a Muntu. And then this is a wiki photo, the first Japanese embassy to Europe in 1586. You can see here, this is Julio Nakaura, Father Mesquita Mancio It, and Martino Nara Miguel Chijgiwa, indigenous Bantu Japanese. This is King Fudo Myo, Japan, 1000 AD. There again, you look at that. And this is Shakyamuni Buddha triad, dated 623 AD. There, 623 AD. Look at that. This is in Hoiji Monastery, Nara, Japan. And these are the Japanese indigenous people. The mulatto is coming up, but more here mulatto. But all these are indigenous Japanese, these Bantus, or melanin-dominant humans, so-called Negroes or Africans, to simplify matters. Again, more painted silk scroll depicting the black-skinned wisdom King Fudo-Muyo or Fudo-Moyo, the immovable one. Fudo is the cosmic Buddha. He is shown with two attendants, Seitaka Doji, who is here, and Kongara Doji Nkala Doji, in this is 1200 AD. Again, Gobujo, 710 AD, one of the divas of the 8 classes and 10 great disciples of Buddha in the Sutra D Lotus, Kongfuji Temple, Nara, Japan. More of the, think of the Kunum Temple and the divinities are seated around that. Now, this is Japanese Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, 1884-1943, who was a Japanese naval marshal general and the commander-in-chief of the combined fleet during World War II. He died during an inspection tour of forward position in the Solomon Islands when his aircraft was shot down by American P-38 Lightning fighter planes. His death dealt a major blow to the Japanese military morale during the Second World War. You can see that he is more of a Muntu than anything else. Yeah. Now Bantus have vanished in Japan, and now we have got these the modern Ainu, who are mulattoes, wearing traditional Ainu clothing at an Ainu tourist center. Same as elsewhere, you find that this is happening, and they are significantly, completely different from the indigenous autochthonous Ainu and Jimono that founded Japan. Now, racism is the major reason why scholars and general perception never entertains the evidence if it comes proving that indigenous Japanese or indigenous people of any part of the earth were Bantus or melanin-dominant people. Archaeologists admit taking a find, because what he discovered was this. Shinichi Fujimura, an acclaimed Stone Age archaeologist at the Tohoku Paleolithic Institute, confessed that he fabricated evidence calling into question a number of important discoveries. Fujimura made his confession after he was secretly caught on videotape burning supposed artifacts at the site. Burning evidence. What evidence was he burning? It was evidence that Bantus are the indigenous people in Asia, including Japan. If in digging and in his archaeological work, he had discovered and found images or statues that looked exactly like him, would he burn it? No. But he discovered the indigenous Muntu, and therefore he went ahead and burned that. So indigenous Japanese, were they Africans? The answer is an emphatic yes, yes, yes. It is at the time now we acknowledge these facts and allow our brains and our minds and our lives and our thinking to prepare for more unity with this kind of history and accept it and promote it with vigor and with energy. This is the true history of Japan, and this is the true history of the whole earth, that indigenous people of any part of the earth were melanin dominant human beings. We now need no further self-verification, but we simply need to use first principle logic. If you want to participate in spreading such kind of message, including Afro-salvation truths, send us an email on john@marifado.com. This is Preacher Rabbi LM Timizulu of Marifado.
So we have seen the indigenous Japanese. So we have here another one. We have Bangladesh. We have even Turkeys. You know the original Turkey people, where they come from. So subscribe and comment there about this professor, what he's saying here in this video.
Our title, Real Black Turkey. This is a picture of an African guinea fowl which could at a long distance be confused and mistaken for a wild turkey. Hangaiwa itendele. Apparently, when these birds were brought by merchants to late Middle Ages markets in England, they were called turkey hen or turkey cock, which became abbreviated asexually to turkey. Is it possible this story is hiding some answers historians fudge today, or prophetic for someone or another race that is being mistaken and eaten up? Who are the modern Turks? Are Turks Arabs? Where is their real home? What happened to indigenous Turks? Let's look at these questions. Who are the modern Turks? Modern Turkic peoples are historically and linguistically connected to a nomadic people who in the 16th century founded an empire stretching from what is now Mongolia and the northern frontier of China to the Black Sea. That's what the Britannica.com website says, and a lot of others show that. Are Turks Arabs then, since they are in Northeast Africa? No, is the shocking answer we get from popular search sites like Quora. Turks are not Arabs. Turkish people, or the Turks, also known as Anatolian Turks, Turkish, Anadolu, Turkleri, are a Turkic group of people and a nation living mainly in Turkey and speaking Turkish, the most widely spoken Turkic language. But how come they are Muslims? The relations between Turks and Arabs go back centuries. Muslim Arabs began to conquer Turkic regions starting in 705, and Turks fought on the side of Arabs against the Chinese in the Battle of Talas in 751. This alliance developed a connection between Turks and Arabs. A connection between Turks and Arabs, separate and different people. Turkic princes in Turkestan adopted Islam, and later the people adopted Islam en masse. The Arab spoken of here was the original, or is the original Arab, an African, black. This one, and this one is not the original or indigenous. Now, this answer solves a big problem, but introduces another one. Where is the real home of this fella and that fella? Let's look for that. Names that are changed fudges history. Anatolia is the oldest name of that part of Northeast Africa, later called Asia Minor or Small Asia. Webster's dictionary tells us that these people are of Persian as well as Central Asian group of people, Eastern Central Asian Turkic languages. The reason why Turks have Arab names today is because they converted to Islam, as already proved, and that they also took Arabic names. Indigenous black Arabs do not follow this Turkish tradition. These are the truest and purest Arabs in the world today. The Arabs of Socotra Islands, off the coast of Yemen, are the only genetically pure Arabs in the world. They are of Y DNA haplogroup which is the basal nasal form, meaning that their genes are the earliest and the purest with no further mutations. Black people, the Africans, because Africans we are multi-diverse pool of people. And let's go back to our question, where is the real home of the text? We have already indicated that they are from Central Mongolia, Central Asia. So where texts came from proves that they are not indigenous to North Africa. Let's expand and give more evidence on this. They were chased out of Eastern Central Asia by the Mongols. On reaching Greece around 1200 BCE, historians now crafted a history for them, naming them Greeks, Latins, and Romans, but learn this fact now. These are some of the names of the indigenous people, indigenous black people, black Europeans who were defeated by these Eurasians. Many black Southern Europeans and Mediterranean islanders were displaced, and they fled for safety into Hamit, the Levant, and Anatolia. These fleeing blacks were known as sea peoples. The sea peoples were not easily welcomed into Africa as immigrants, and many battles were fought before they could actually settle there. As evidenced by ancient Southern European tomb art showing blacks, albinos, and mulattoes, these invading Eurasians were eventually assimilated into black Europe, and today they have taken over the whole of Europe. The first non-Turkic empire, Tehukushe Empire, consisted of two parts, Eastern and Western Turks. The Oron inscription, the oldest non-Turkic records, 8th century, referred to this empire and particularly to the confederation of Turkic tribes known as the Oghuz and the Uyghur, who lived along the Selenga River in present-day Mongolia. And history is already proving itself because their descendants are now finding themselves. Here is the what history and what news we ought to have captured. In 2018, Turkish Prime Minister Binali Yildirim visited Oron Valley of Mongolia to see the Orhon inscriptions written in Old Turkic alphabet there. It's modern day texts and their cousins. The Mamelukes, the term is almost commonly used to refer to Muslim slave soldiers and Muslim rulers of slave origin. Now let's look at this Applied History of Research Group, University of Calgary article, the end of Europe's Middle Ages, origins of the Ottoman Empire. Pressured out of their homes in the Asian steppes by the Mongols, the Turkish tribes converted to Islam during the 8th and the 9th century after Common Era. By the 10th century, one of the Turkish tribes, the Seljuk, had become a significant power in the Islamic world and had adopted a settled life that included Islamic orthodoxies, a central administration, and taxation. However, many other Turkish groups remained nomadic and pursuing a Ghazi tradition, sought to conquer land for Islam, acquire booty, and acquire a name for themselves. This led them to be in conflict with the Seljuk Turks, and to pacify these nomadic tribes, the Seljuk directed them to East Byzantine Empire and Anatolia. The tribe known as the Ottomans arose out of these smaller emirates established northwestern Anatolia after 1071, and the dynasty is the one that expanded their kingdom and became into the Byzantine Empire in Asia Minor as well as the Ottoman Empire. More on these Oghuz texts. The Oghuz texts, this is from Wikipedia, Oroghaz texts were an Western Turkic people who spoke the Oghuz languages from the common branch of Turkic languages. In the 8th century, they formed a tribal confederation conveniently named Oghuz Yagbu state in Central Asia. There it is. The Oghuz is a common term for tribe. Oghuz confederation migrated westward from the Jetisu area after conflict with the Kaluk branch of Uyghurs. Today, the residents of Turkey, Iran, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Khorasan, Turkmens of Afghanistan, the Balkans, Iraq, and Syria are descendants of the Oghuz, and their language is Oghuz, also known as Southwestern Turkic group of language families. So that is where they came from. They moved across, right, to Ottoman Turkish and into Europe. So this is it. This is clear. In summary, therefore, Turks are European. Turks migrated to Anatolia from Central Asia, Mongolia. Turks set up the Seljuks, Ottomans, and modern Republic of Turkey, and all the so-called Middle East, which were they were given by their cousins, the Europeans. There is the map. An interesting Turkish story about their nation goes this way. From their book that became standard educational text in 1932, Turks are taught that they originated from Central Asia via a mythical grey she-wolf. Many miss this mark because this is clear that the Turks make no claim to be indigenous or native to Turkey. They know and admit that they are from Asia. What happened then to the indigenous Turks? Because these are not indigenous wherever you can find them, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, or Turkey, or Turkey. Africa must learn from history. As they welcome the Mongols all over Africa, the Chinese, Africa must realize that history is ringing a loud warning that original black people, even in Africa, right from South Africa up to North Africa, they will be wiped out and replaced by another people, just like what happened in Turkey. Were displaced, removed, genocide was committed, and the whole area repopulated by Mongols. Now, Hans are coming as investors in Africa, and Africans are excited about it, forgetting that the real Turkey vanished. There's the real Turkey. We were almost written out of history. Time to fight and make a stand. Unfortunately, our politicians are as blind as bats in light. You can also go to this Egypt forum website given here, where you will see the indigenous and original Turkic and Arabs. It's very clear. This makes a very straight, open line of who is indigenous and who came from Mongolia. Now, Turkey wants Africa. That's a fact. Don't worry about anything else. But they are not coming direct, they are coming through their cousins, their hands. So it is up to you and me to wake up and wake up the grassroots. That is where our power lies asleep. You must share this video all over. And you must also instill the Ubuntu Ma'at consciousness ethic in our nation to those that are willing to hear and to listen.
So as you see here, the original Turks, they were, as he's saying, I'm not saying that, I'm just showing what I found out here. So we have even the Bangladesh, who are the first Bangladesh.
Welcome. Why are we presenting this aspect of South Asian history? The most immediate benefit from these Southeast Asian videos is the provision of hidden evidence via sound arguments using verifiable images, scientific, historical, and migratory patterns, and expose the fact that Southeast Asia was once dominated by melanin-dominant humans. This fact alone shows that today they are no longer the majority, which implies that something horrible is our food. Therefore, if we do not learn this history, we will perish and suffer. To participate in this restorative effort and drive to our greatness, send an email to join@marifado.com. Our topic is Bangladesh first people identified. Who are the first original indigenous people of Bangladesh? What is their race? Are their descendants still in Bangladesh today? Where did they come from? The first people of Bangladesh, are they different from Asians? Bangladesh and Pakistan are all Indian territory. A deliberate, discounted, but important approach to identify and appreciate the indigenous people of Bangladesh is that we must simultaneously agree that Bangladesh is in India, a mere province or a state of India. The map here shows that. How did this happen? It was through colonization and division. If we ask in our Bantu languages, who are the indigenous people of Bangladesh, we get their name. Ngobani abantu bomdabuko eBangladesh? Ndibanani vanhu vokutanga muBangladesh ambao ni watu wakiasili huko Bangladesh? Ngobani abantu bomnyama eBangladesh? You see, the prominent word that is coming here is Bantu. Therefore, they are Bantus. That's the answer. Compare that approach that we have given with the modern, continuous, evolving definition of indigenous. Indigenous peoples, also referred to as first people, aboriginal people, native people, or autochthonous people, are culturally distinct ethnic groups who are native to a particular place, completely different from us. When we define Bantu, it's the whole earth, melanin dominant anywhere on earth, not a particular place. Then they tell us that this term was first in its modern context used by Europeans who used it to differentiate. You see, ours unites. So they say to differentiate peoples of Americas from black people who were brought to the Americas as slaves from Africa. Africa for us is the whole earth. Umhlaba, Nika, all of it. Africa is just a small portion which is not different from what you can find in India, in America, in Australia, in Europe. We ignore this European tweak which is meant to divide, rule, and continue ruling, and use Bantu as redefined in our article of Marifado Hem, Ubuntu Mahat Consciousness, Mission and Effort. Article number 2 says the term Bantu, its singular Muntu, is not applied narrowly in any of our endeavors. We employ it broadly as well as racially to define melanin-dominant people, melanin-dominant humans, not only in Africa, but anywhere on planet Earth, from the hoary, distant, recent times past, today, and tomorrow. That's what we know as Muntu and as Bantus. So let's continue with the modern history of Bangladesh. You can see that India here covered Bengal, which is Bangladesh today. This is India. Modern Bangladesh is an Indian territory. Pakistan and Bangladesh were originally part of India until 1947, when they were broken away and parceled and divided by the British. Bangladesh broke away from Pakistan through a war that ended in 1971. Their history, both of them, is wrapped in India. It cannot be divided because the original people in the region of Bengal, in the eastern part of India subcontinent, dates back to over 4,000 years ago. We want to identify these people and find them. So their history here is quite clear. You can see that. Britain ruled all of South Asia 1776 to 1948 through a company called the British East India Company. It is the one that also parceled out a lot of places in Africa. It controlled all commerce until 1858, when control passed to the British Raj. It is still continuing. In 1947, a freed and divided region into India, mostly Hindu, and Pakistan, mostly Muslim, influenced by Mahatma Gandhi. So you can see that there has been war between India, Pakistan, Kashmir, Bangladesh. There is no stability here. It's always wars and fighting, because that's the intention of the division that occurred there. In order to identify the first people or natives of Bangladesh, we must point out that there is a lie that is now being cooked and parceled out to perpetuate a certain concept and to remove a certain ideology. A true original ideology says Indo-Aryan migration into India that occurred around 1500 BCE caused the driving down and the mixing of the races, such that today when you want to pick a Bangladeshi or a Bengal, you might pick a wrong one who is not indigenous or original. It is known as the Aryan migration explanation, not theory or hypothesis. We'll prove that it's not a theory or a hypothesis shortly. It's a blue lie to say that it is fiction. It is correct. Now, the first original indigenous people of Bangladesh identified as Bantus, not Aryans. There. The civilization in India, the Indus Valley civilization, was not founded by Aryans. The people that founded those civilizations left their marks. It's not related to the language of the Turkish Iranian or European languages. Theirs is an Austro-Asiatic language, not Greco-Roman pantheon or language of Vedic pantheon. It's not like that. This is the dancing girl. Is a Muntu. Look at the dancing girl. Muntu. Look at Buddha here. Muntu. Look at what was found in Mohenjo-Daro here. The ruler there, the king. Muntu. Peppercorn hair, straightforward. No question marks there. We also have the second proof, which is selected texts from their book. These invaders have their book called the Rig Veda. Samthia. That is their book. The invading Aryans drove the dark-skinned people southwards and fought and destroyed their civilization and tried to destroy them, but they failed. He says there in one of the verses there, through fear of you, the dark peoples fled, relinquishing their possessions without battle or Agni Vaishanara, burning bright from Puru and rending their forts. You did shine. You see that? It's also this hymn, Dikat Indra, in verse 11, sing with oblation, praise to him who maketh glad, who with religion drove the dusk brood away. Another verse here given here, Indra, him, plaguing the lawless, he gave up to man who seed the dusk skin. Blessing as it were, he burns each covetous man away, he burns the tyrannous away. Another hymn here, Indra, sing with oblation, praise to him who maketh glad, who with Rizvan drove the dusk brood away. Another one, thou smote down the sword, the 50,000. The last one, which is very important, Soma Pavamana, blowing away with the supernatural might from earth and from the heavens, the swarthy skin which Indra hates. Swarthy means black, means dusk, means melanin dominant, means Muntu, means Bantu. You can go to this website to read more. These are the books. If you want to read them, you can read them. We have given the scriptures there. So it's there now on a second level. The first, it was archaeological, where we found statues and signatures of our ancestors, not Aryans. Now it is their book, not Aryans. We're not the indigenous people. They're telling us where they came from. And then the next one, the caste system. There is no other way to account for the Hindu caste system except as something put in place by an invader who, upon conquering an indomitable foe and seeking to ensure that he does not rise again, codifies his status with the religious dogma and social taboos, puts him down as the untouchable, at the least at the bottom, and street cleaners, never allowing them to come out of that level at all. The indigenous, you can see them. There is no caste who is an Aryan you will find there. The Brahmins, the priests, the academics, casual rulers and the administrators, artisans, tradesmen, farmers, and manual laborers, they are all at the top of him or her, the indigenous one. Say straightforward, clear. So the Aryan explanation and migration holds water, total. Never listen to anyone who wants to tell you that it's a theory. It has been dismantled. It's a lie. It's still standing there. We find the real Muntu there. These are the images of the real Muntu there. Both Bangladesh as well as India. And these at the bottom, they are mixed. This is the product of those Aryans that came in and took over these women. We give more proof. More proof there. Indigenous versus Aryan people of Bangladesh. This North Indian man is an Aryan, South Indian man is a Muntu. There, North Indian family, Aryan, South Indian family, Bantus. North Indian woman, there is an Aryan, there is a Muntu. There are the characteristics of ancient society in India. Began with Bantus who were peaceful. They are called Dravidians or Dalits. They are dark-skinned of African origin. They will prove, again, more facts about that. Again, there, Northwest Indian Punjab Sikh woman mixed up, and South Indian Tamil Hindu woman still original. So, straightforward, no question marks about that. This racial explanation that we have given of India and Bangladesh is, of course, self-evident. To verify this conclusion, confirmation also comes from a recent scientific study conducted by scientists from MIT, Harvard, and other international institutions, and published in the American Journal of Human Genetics, August 8, 2013. We want to read it. Most Indian groups descend from a mixture of two genetically divergent populations. Ancestral North Indians related to Central Asians, Middle Easterners, there was no Middle East, those were Arabs, Caucasians, Europeans, and Europeans and ancestral South Indians not closely related to groups outside the subcontinent. Subcontinent of what continent of Africa? The date of mixture is unknown, but it has implications for understanding Indian history. That's what we're saying. We report genome-wide data from 73 groups from the Indian subcontinent analyze linkages disequilibrium to estimate ancestral North Indians and ancestral South Indians mixture dates ranging from about 1,900 to 4,200 years ago. In a subset of groups, 100% of the mixture is consistent with having occurred during this period. These results show that India experienced a demographic transformation several thousand years ago, from a region in which major population mixture was common to one in which mixture even between closely related groups became rare because of a shift in endogamy. Straightforward, obvious, and apparent. Now, here's how Bangladesh was populated. An Indo-Aryan, various groups, of course, Austro-Asiatic, other various groups from the islands, and also Tibeto-Burman from the Chinese and Mongols. That they came and conglomerated and produced there. Now, it becomes apparent when you meet anyone from Bangladesh to determine by your eyes, by what you see with your eyes, whether they are indigenous, Bantu, melanin dominant, or Aryan pure white, or mixed mulatto. That's the tribal people of Bangladesh. That's the structure, the three-tier system that you have to use. Now we go on the pictorial journey to prove what we have just stated. There is the Bangladesh first people, identified a Muntu, a Bantu. More, they are now mixed Bangladesh indigenous, have vanished now. You can see that. Straight, no worries about that. More, these are indigenous, the advanced tribal women, straightforward, original and indigenous. Again, indigenous Bengal, identified Santhal tribe, Bangladesh, Bantus, melanin dominant people. There is no complaint about that. These are proper indigenous people, Africans and Bantus, straight to the core. Again, more real indigenous people. Munda tribe, below is a Bengal woman. Bantus, again, Munda tribe. Below is a Dravidian family, Dravidian people. Again, very obvious without any question marks. There is a village life in Bangladesh, mixed and original. These are mixed and these are original. You can see that. Melanin dominant, melanin dominant, melanin dominant. These are our people. Again, we may not agree, but we emphasize that you should believe your eyes. These are melanin dominant people. See them. Who migrated out of Africa 65,000 years ago, moved all over into the islands, 45,000 years later, moved into India as well as other places. They also filled up 65,000 or 75,000 years ago. It's quite clear, straightforward. Dravidian in Bangladesh and India, these are Bantus. You cannot say they are not, unless if you are just indoctrinated. We are one people. Look at that. Bangladesh, India, we are one people. India is a subcontinent of Africa by population figures, by history, and also by geography and by its shape. It's shaped like a small Africa, if you look at it. Over the century, this region in Bengal has been ruled by a lot of other people that came from the Caucasus Mountain. We have identified the owners, they are Bantus. Who are the first original indigenous people of Bangladesh? Melanin dominant humans. What is their race? Melanin dominant humans. Are their descendants still there today? Yes, but now they are being mixed up and through genocide, disease, and planned extermination, they are being wiped out. Where did they come from? From Africa. For us, Africa is the whole earth, any place, because Africa is the mother of continents, as we have already proved that India is part of Africa. The first people of Bangladesh.
So we are coming now to the last video, because now I feel like tired. We are coming to how ancient Egyptians view Europe.
Our ancestors underestimated the home. Welcome to Marivado. The Tamao ruthlessly worked viciously, and today they control the whole earth. With a stroke of a pen, a nuclear attack, or a deliberate vaccination, they have the power now in their hands to wipe out all of us and send us off this planet into oblivion. It is imperative that we survive. Yet the majority of Bantu Negroes left these falsities as truth. Europeans, Arabs, or Asians go ahead and boast that they were the civilizers of the earth, the civilizers of Hamid and India. And out of that, they derive a form of self-esteem. Worst of all, it is clear that the more educated the Muntu, the stronger is his or her denial of his or her history, religion, logic, institutions, and even race. Why? My religion is Hamitic Ubuntu Mahati consciousness is my...
Okay, my religion is not that. You understand? My religion is not committee. I believe in God, in the Bible, and I'm listening this video. I'm just want to know what the people will think about this professor, what he's saying here.
Spirituality. I am a committician. Welcome to Marifado, our inheritance. Let's discuss this topic and let us learn a few lessons. The inquiry of why the ancient Africans had a concretized, smug, almost a shocking racist opinion of other races, specifically Europeans, conjures up wild responses from Egyptologists. Added to this is the quick and pathetic explanation. When an image like this is shown, they are quick to point out that Pharaoh Scorpion was oppressing the black people, Negroes like that, forgetting that he looks exactly the same as a Muntu and is wearing the crown of a Muntu. So this was a deliberate fight and war amongst the tribes. At the same time, when an image like this is floated, where the Asiatic is under the foot of the Pharaoh, they are silent and they don't want to talk about it. Could this be the evidence that our wise ancestors in Hamid disliked Europeans the most, and that the European elites, they know this, hence their approach and attitude towards digging up our ancestors and displaying them in glass caskets and burning their bodies and even claiming that they descended from them? It gets serious when evidence shows that the popular image of ancient Egyptian four races of men has been seriously tampered with, and it is now a fake. This is the image that has been heavily doctored. Who tampered with it? Why was it restored to the point where it is now different from the original? Why do Egyptologists selectively doubt Champollion's explanations of what he saw when he went into Bab el-Meluk? The last question is one that must involve all of us if we are awakened Bantus. What do we learn from all this? Did the ancient Egyptians view Europeans in very bad light? This is the image from the tomb of Sutu I, and this is the rendering that was done by the Frenchman Heinrich von Minutoli, 1820. See, this is a Libyan, and see, this is a Muntu, this is an Asiatic, and also this is a Muntu. They want to call this Egyptian and say it's different color. These are the four races of mankind as known in the book of Gates, as known by our ancestors, and this is the depiction of the artist. But there is a complete, total obliteration of the true representation of the proper and correct image in ancient history. This is the image, and someone who can see clearly has dubbed that and tried to restore it and destroyed an image that was here. Who was there? Let us look at that. This is how the ancient Hamites in ancient Africa viewed themselves. This is the painting from the tomb of Ramses III, 1200 years BCE. Capture that. it shows that the Egyptians saw themselves as blacks and painted themselves as such without possible confusion with Indo-Europeans, Caucasoids, or so-called Semites. It is a representation of the races in their most minute differences, which ensures the accuracy of the colors. Throughout their entire history, the Egyptians never entertained the fantasy of portraying themselves by types B or D. This is an ancient Hamitian, and this is the Indo-European whom we are dealing with today, and this is the other Muntu in Africa, and this is the so-called Semite. You can see with the nose, and you can see with that. So that puts everything clear. So the example of lying by men's handwork, so-called restoration, is here, and this was done by Henry von Minutoli, 1820. 4 peoples of the world: a Libyan, a Nubian, an Asiatic, and an Egyptian, an artistic rendering, right? But you can notice straightforward that it is not depicting what is found here, the actual tomb painting. It's completely different. Let's continue to show that. The shocking state of Europeans a few millennia ago. Here is how Egyptians pictured white people in the words of Champollion. Francis Champollion was the scholar credited with deciphering the hieroglyphics. Medu Nature, which is defined as the language of the gods, which was written on the Rosetta Stone. The information that he was said to have unraveled about the origins and the true history of the Tamahu, which literally translate into the words created white people, devastated him, and he wrote about what he found in the letter to his brother, which is shown, which we shall show here some of the excerpts. The Tamahu is the European, said Champollion. Champollion affirmed this in that letter. So it's very, very clear about that. There it is, his overview. And this is the tomb of Sutu I, Book of Gates, 4th Division, 5th hour. Exactly, you can see that, and there is an overview that he gives here. And we learn at the same time, this Champollion, the great geographical or ethnographic divisions established during that early epoch. Men led by Horesu, this is Horesu, the shepherd of the peoples, belong to the 4 distinct families. The first, the closest to the divinity or the god, has a dark red color. Yeah. A well-proportioned body, kind face, nose slightly aquiline, long braided hair, and is dressed in white. Legends designate this species as retinue rume, men. This is bad word for men. The race of men par excellence, rume. There can be no uncertainty about the racial identity of the man who comes next. So there were 4 in each row, 4 in each row, and so forth. All. Right? See that? He belongs to the black race.
Yeah.
The general designation was Nahas.
Yeah, I don't
or
care
no.
about
So
this black
finally,
race,
the
white
last one
race. I don't
is
care.
what
I'm
we
just
call
listening to
flesh-colored. A white skin of the most delicate shade, a nose straight or slightly edged, blue eyes, blonde or reddish beard, tall stature, and very slender, clad in hairy ox skin. A veritable savage, tattooed on various parts of his body. He is called Tamahu. This is Champollion who is writing that. There is Tamahu. There are all the tattoos around his body. But you can see that it looks more like a Muntu. How did the ancient Egyptians view Europeans? Clearly, the last one is called the Tamahu, or flesh-colored. Hey, you can see the hair has different. So he goes on to say, and I am ashamed to say so, since our race is the last and the most savage in the series. Europeans who in those remote epochs frankly did not cut too fine a figure in the world. In this category, we must include all blondes and other white-skinned people living not only in Europe, but also in Asia as well. Their starting point. Now, the debate has gone on whether the Tamahu were Libyans or they were Europeans. In many forums, this debate has gone on, but specifically in Egypt search forums, there is a lot of details and interesting information. Tamahu was Champollion inserting his own race amongst the elites of Bantus or not? There is a lot of information that we need to deal with and classify. The Tamahu is clearly defined as European by the ancient, who are clearly depicted with white skin and body tattoos, many being of Germanic races, Goths and Scythian. Yet we find that there is Temehu here, in the west of the Nile, right into Africa. And there is Refu or Rebu or Rebai. And the Tehenu is their region that they lived in. And Ament is the west of the great river Hawaki. So we know now clearly that here in the north of Africa here, Meshweshwe, Moshweshwe in Lesotho. So there were people of our own Bantu race there. Now it is clear that the Tamahu were our own brothers and sisters who migrated and moved from here when the Sahara was still lushy and green and settled in North Africa along the ocean here. There are so many things here that we could add, but we need to move on and finish our video now. So these Bantus here in North Africa, the Negroes, lived in a place called Tehenu, and they were mixed up with the Europeans. Hence, our ancestors in Hamit, in Nubge and Kush had a very low opinion of these folks. The Sea people, same as the Tamahu, these are the Sea people. On Ramesses' third table of nations, we understand that the term Tehenu, which we've shown there, was a generic term applied to the Libyans, shown there, here, there, right? Tehenu, there is the term there. In North Africa, who by this time were mixed with the Tamahu people, from where we get the descendants of the Gutians and the people of the sea, Indo-Europeans, Tamahu. So these are what we would call Makaradi. In conclusion, therefore, the biggest lesson out of all this and many other lessons is clearly that our ancestors underestimated the Tamahu. Within a mere 1,688 years, the Tamahu are now in charge of the whole earth with massive power. With one stroke of a pen, a nuclear attack, or a deliberate vaccination, we, the descendants of the oldest and most civilized people on earth, may become extinct in a flash. It is imperative we survive. To learn more on possible survival tactics, send us an email on john@marifado.com. Let us stop underestimating the Tamahu and adopt a survival tactic. Subscribe.
Okay, so we have reached now the last. This is the last video. I thought I will finish here. I will continue the second one. But you guys, what do you think about what he's saying, this guy? So because me, I believe in God, and God is the one who created all human beings, every race in the world. Without God, there's no race in the world. So what do you think about what he's saying, this guy, with this video which I show you guys? Because me, I don't believe everything, but some other things it's very interesting, other things they are very confusing. So what do you think about this video? And I believe about the what do you think about the name of the continent, and also the which is the biggest continent in the world? So give me some comments when you have seen this video. I will send it in my YouTube channel. So the ones who will see this video, just give me comments or like. It'll be very nice. So thank you. This is Combo Abel. I'm back now. It's in the morning, so I have to stop from here. So see you guys, and God bless you and protect all of you. We'll see.